going to cover the basics about how a virus works. There are entire semester-long classes that you can take on virology, and it's a very complex subject, so we're just going to talk about the basics. The first section here is how a virus makes you sick, and you can read these 9 steps. Different viruses will interact with different bodies in different ways, so that's why it's complicated. But not all of these steps are going to occur in every single case. Sometimes you'll have a sore throat and a cough, but you won't have a fever, or you might have just vomiting and diarrhea, or you have a number of different symptoms based on the type of virus, the specific virus, and how it infects different body tissues. But this is a generalized overview of how a virus makes you sick. If you look down at the next thing we want to talk about, it's called the lytic cycle. The 6 steps describe how this particular type of virus that follows the lytic cycle can infect and harm your body. And the basic idea here is that it uses your enzymes. So it's not a living thing. Viruses have DNA or RNA, but they require a host cell in order to replicate. They can't replicate in the environment. So they're not alive, but they commandeer or take over your cells and manipulate your cells into producing more viruses. So in the lytic cycle, they do this by making your enzymes and proteins form new viruses. Eventually the cell gets so full of viruses that it ruptures and it bursts open with a bunch of viruses that then go on to infect other cells. So here's an image of that lytic cycle. You get the attachment of the virus. This is what a virus looks like. The top section is called the capsid, and it's made of a protein coating. And then you've got the stem section here that attaches to the host cell, and that's called absorption. And that attaches at a receptor site on the host cell. It gains entry into the cell, often by injecting its DNA or its RNA into the cell, or some proteins. And then that cell becomes basically a replication factory, producing more and more of the proteins needed to make more viruses. And those viruses get assembled inside the cell, and it eventually ruptures and releases those matured viruses out into the body so they can infect other cells. There's a second type of cycle called the lysogenic cycle. And the lysogenic cycle, it doesn't just take over your enzymes, it actually alters your DNA. So when you get a virus that follows the lysogenic cycle, you'll have it for the rest of your life because your DNA has been altered by the virus. And so it's going to use some special enzymes, one of which is called reverse transcriptase, to accomplish this task. And it's particularly nasty because often these types of viruses, the lysogenic viruses, can go into a period of latency where they're altering your cells and changing your DNA, but you're not displaying any of the symptoms of the virus. Which the reason that's so nasty is, one, it's infecting your body and rapidly reproducing in your own and changing your cells. But also, if you're not exhibiting any symptoms of the illness or the disease, then you can continue to spread it without taking any precautions because you don't even know that you have it. So in lysogenic cycle viruses, the big difference here in this picture is that when it injects its DNA, that DNA actually gets incorporated into your DNA, and then your cells undergo mitosis, producing more, and they do another mitotic division, producing more. But this red section of all these new cells' DNA has been reproduced, and that red section codes for making more viruses. So now you have exponentially more cells as this continues to occur, producing more viruses, and eventually they'll undergo the lytic cycle, which means the enzymes will produce the proteins necessary to make more viruses, and the cells will lyse or break, they'll rupture, because they're so full of new virus particles. This video, I'm not going to click on it, but it's in our notes, is from the Howard Hughes Medical Institute, and it does a great job of explaining how HIV specifically works. HIV is a unique virus. It is one of a category of viruses called retroviruses. and it follows this lysogenic cycle, which makes it particularly difficult on the human body. We also, in this course, need to be able to explain the cause, transmission, and social implication of AIDS. And so this is just a brief overview of AIDS. I have a good article for you to read about AIDS and its impacts physiologically and socially, as well as economically in different parts of the world. So make sure that you talk to me about that and I can give you access to that article.